Hello and welcome back to this next part of this loans/rental system. Now in the previous videos we had generated and modified various applications such as those for the person management, the object as well as the object families, and we have in the previous video created our loan applications. So this is where we have, as you see on your screen at the moment, the loan details as well as the grid loaned and a control form for returned objects. So in this video we will continue with our information folder, and here we need to create some new applications for which we will be including inside of our menu and of course providing our end users of our platform some further views so that some of the information is easier to manage as well as view within your platform. So let's start off by coming here to our persons folder, and what I will do is copy here the grid persons. That will allow me to create a replica of this grid persons. So instead of calling it grid persons, I will call this one info because it's part of the info folder. And of course I can give it the grid name as well, whatever you please. And then I will just call it persons. And of course, click OK. And just like that, Scriptcase has replicated the grid persons. And of course I can go ahead and run that grid application, and we'll see that it is pre-configured and set up just as we had done so previously. Now there are some differences to this grid to what we actually want to have, so we will make those adjustments in a few moments. But first of all, let us go ahead and move this new application, okay, by selecting it here first of all, and then down here clicking the move button, and then we can choose the position or folder in which we want to place this new application. So there I will choose then the 10 information and then move that application into that folder. Okay, so then we also have in our objects folder here, we also have the objects grid, and I want to also go ahead and copy this one too. And again, I will call it info underscore grid and objects, and click OK. And again, just like that, we have replicated another grid application. So again, I'll select it and also move that one here into our information folder, just like that. And then that will then be available there. Okay, so if I come here into my information folder, I now have then the two new grids which we have just created. So let's have a quick look here at the objects, as we have not generated this one yet, and we can have a quick look at what that looks like. And there we have our objects. Okay, so we do want to make quite a few adjustments in each of these. So let's start off here first of all with our persons grid. And the first thing we want to do here is come to application links, and I want to remove the link to the form. So I'll just remove that by clicking the delete button and confirming that. Now if I go ahead and run that persons grid again, we will no longer have the edit options for the persons, and we will also no longer have the add button. Okay, so they have now been removed, and then this becomes then a basic visibility grid for our users. Now there are also other ways of removing those options, for instance the edit as well as the add button and so forth, by use of Scriptcase macros. So you can use one grid for many purposes if that is something you wanted to do. Now in some cases it is just much easier to actually create a separate grid so that you have some different management aspects available to you. And of course you can make further customizations to this so that it looks slightly different from the original maybe, and of course maybe even provides different information. But at this stage, we don't nearly need that. But if we come back here to our persons grid, we have here some basic options. We have here the column and sorting. Now, personally, I like to leave those, but in this case, we don't really need them. And here for export, we also do not need all of these export options for this application. So let's come back into our grid persons. And then from here, we can choose the various options that we want to change. So first of all, we have here in our toolbar the option to remove the various options such as the columns and sorting options. So I will go ahead and remove those, as well as then selecting here some of those export options. For instance, we would not want to have JSON, CSV, or RTF, possibly Word, Excel. Let's just leave the PDF and Excel there, and that way we have those two options for export. And of course, again, I will remove the options here also. And then if I go ahead and run that again, now do note there that I have removed those options from the email export as well as the individual export here. Okay, so there is a slight difference between the two. For the email export, it will actually email the export data to you. And we can configure that here within the export folder. We have here the email options, and here we can attach then our API as well as add individual or separate export settings within this application. We can even customize the title as well as the body of that email. And then we have the various export types here available, and we have then PDF, for instance. We may want to export this with a password. We can do so just by clicking this box here. We may want to open the PDF directly instead of going through the confirmation process, display a progress bar and more, and we can just simply enable those options by checking them here. We also have various PDF export options below that. So this then configures your exported PDF. We can export it in color or in an economic fashion, being black and white. We can change the orientation, generate bookmarks, and so much more. So do check out those options. They're all available there for you to use. And of course, we have then also for Excel, which we also have here, again, the option to export with a password. So that is maybe something you would want to apply in this application because, of course, these are your customers and so forth. So that is, of course, entirely up to you. But for now, this person's grid is good enough for us to then add. We do not want here the search. So let me just remove that here from the grid modules, and then I'll just uncheck there the search. And that then provides us then the complete list without a search button, without the add button and so forth. Those are really not needed in some cases. And of course, we can still export this list from here as well as perform a quick search. Okay, so that is then our persons grid ready. We can then also jump into here our objects. So the grid object is very similar to the other one. So let's go ahead again to our application links, delete the link that we have there so that new objects are not possible to be added to this application. Again, it is an informational grid, so we do not want those available there. Again, I will access the toolbar and remove the column sorting as well as the various export options that I just do not want available within this grid application. And just like that, we can remove them. And again, I can run this application and review those updates. And there we have a slightly different view. We no longer have the edit button, the add buttons again, and so forth. Of course, we may want to make further adjustments here, such as bolding the name, for instance. So let's go quickly and do that one. So here for the field's name, I can choose then the field, scroll down here, and then simply check here the bold text option and then run the application again. And just like that, the title of the object is then also bolded for this specific view. Okay, I also want to remove here the search that we have here, the refined search. So if I come back here into Scriptcase, select then the refined search, choose then here the select fields, and I can simply uncheck each of those options, click save, and then run the application again, and the refined search is then also gone. So just like that, we have then our next grid application ready to be deployed. And of course, we can then continue on with our project. So, okay, let's go ahead and close then our objects. So we have then the info grid objects as well as now the info grid persons. And we do also want to create a new application. So let me come then to new applications. and then choose grid, because again we want to create another grid view, but this time we want to make a few adjustments to what we are actually viewing. And of course I could copy and paste an option in here for the select statement, but instead what I'm going to do is use here the database and then also the SQL builder. And Scriptcase has an SQL builder included where we can very quickly and easily select all of the tables that we want to have, perform the joins that we need with ease, and then of course output that data within our grid application. So for the family objects, I would include here first of all the family object name. And then below that we have then the objects, and here I want to also include the name, the photo, okay, and include those. And then here in persons we can then include, for instance here, okay, so now I want to include the person name as well as the person email address and phone number. And in this case I've actually skipped a table that I want to include. So what I will do is I will first of all provide some aliases down here. So for objects, family objects, I'll say it's F, for objects O, and then for persons P. If I confirm that, I can then also return back here to the tables, and I can actually include further tables into this select. So let me now add then, for instance here, the loan table. Let's add that, confirm that, and then we can come back here to our fields. And now we still have our aliases and everything selected. And now we can, of course, include here also our loaned information. So here I will actually call that L down the bottom here for loaned. And here we want to include the date as well as the state. So let's include those then within our grid application. We can confirm that. And then once that's done, we can then come here to the joins option. And then from here, we can join all of the options together. Okay, so then we choose here the loaned within table 1. And the loan table provides us, first of all, the person ID. So let's add that one. And loaned also provides us the object. So let's add that also. And just like that, I have then combined those two tables together. Now we need to include here the family objects. So objects is then linked here to the family objects. So I'll add that like so, confirm that. And now we need to indicate the relationships between each table. So for the loan table, we have the person ID, that is then the ID. For the loan table, we also have the object ID, and there that is. And then for the objects, we have here the family ID, and that then links to the family objects ID. We can confirm that, and then with that we can go ahead and run our statement, and we have a custom select created within a few moments without any drastic complications, which is why Scriptcase is just so amazing. It really does make it so easy for us to generate our own applications in any type of view that we want. So now that the select is ready, I can then come back here to my application and then just paste that here into the SQL select statement. Okay, so we may want to order this by something. So let me add then at the bottom here, order by. And we want to order that by the date. And we had the date there, that's L dot, and what I'm going to do is just copy and paste that there because we have those hyphens there, and that should then generate that. Again, of course, we could access here the SQL builder. As you see, it actually just gave me an error message there, and we can actually order that here. So let me choose here the date from loaned, and we want that ascending or descending. So let's change that to descending actually, confirm that, and then we can run again. And then here again, we have our script. So again, I'm just going to copy and paste that again because of course it didn't like what I just added in there. So let's change that. And then just like that, we have our new SQL select statement. But anyway, just to be sure, we can always use the SQL builder and ensure that our selects are correct. So now here within the name, let me call this again info underscore grid underscore loaned. Okay, and just like that, or loans even. Oh, loaned is good. Okay, and we leave that like that. We click again the create button, and we can go ahead and run that straight away and see what that looks like. And there we now have our new grid. We still have details and everything in here. We want to adjust the fields, so let's very quickly go ahead and do that. So first of all, here within the initial modules, I will remove each of these options. I'll just simply leave the grid there, save that, and of course, as always, I will set the width to 100%. And then we can go ahead and modify our fields. So for the fields, we have an email field here. So I will then go ahead and select email. So that is displayed as an email. And then we also have the photo. So let's add that in here, image file name. I'll go ahead and save that. And now if I come here to our fields on the left-hand menu, I can then adjust here our photo first of all, because we had that within a folder called objects. And just like that, we can then also include the size of our image, how we want to have it displayed. And if I go ahead and run the application now, we should now have our image displayed, a full 100% width table, the emails is also displayed, and that is then quite nice already. Okay, so I still want to make some adjustments to this grid because as I mentioned previously, we can use one grid for many purposes, and that is something we want to do with this one. So here in the left menu, I will come here to the events. Okay, and here I want to use onScriptInit. Now, if you need to learn more about events, be sure to check my own Scriptcase by Jamie channel here on YouTube. And of course, you will be able to check out more information on form events, which I had released last week. And this week is coming the grid events. So be sure to check that out. Okay, so in here, I'm actually going to copy and paste some code now because otherwise I am taking a little time today again. So here we can then specify if var status, okay, so if there's no var status and if there is, so if it's not empty, or sorry, if it's empty, then we add a where status equals var status. Now I need to check here the options here. So let's come back here to our SQL. And we can check that then. And for the status, we had here the state. So that is L. So let me come back to onScriptInit. And here I will then change that to state. Okay. And I'll just paste that there as well. And replace that there with an L like so. And of course I can go ahead and enter run now. And in reality, it's not going to make much changes. We're having our global variable here, okay? And if I add in here loaned, for instance, I then have all of our loaned objects, which is pretty awesome already, okay? So that's very easy to apply, but we still need to add here our var status into our select. Okay, so just like that, we have made adjustments here to our SQL query, which we had just created. And we are then able to request a variable status and change the state or visibility of what we are viewing within our application. Okay, so there's one further change I want to make here, and that is then on record. And here on record, if for instance, our object is loaned out, then we would want to make some changes there. So let me just copy and paste some code here again. And then what we're going to do is then adjust the field's color depending on the status. Okay, so if the status is loaned, then we apply this color by using here the SC field color macro. And if you need to learn more about macros, again, check over my channel. I will be having videos on that very soon. Or of course, check out the help documentation or the snippets available here on the right-hand side within Scriptcase. Macros are just amazing and they will save you a great deal of time in your own development. Okay, so adding that again, I can go loaned again, select that, and now we have some changes here. Now note, we do not have that field displayed here, so we may want to make that change here. Instead of to the status, let's go ahead and make that change to the O.name. Okay, and that will then change the name color depending on the status. So again, if I run that again, we have then our grid, and again I can choose loaned, and then just like that we now have the name of the item also color coded according to the current status that we have applied here. Okay, let's go ahead and close these applications then, and we still have a couple more applications to go, as well as the menu and the security. So let's see if we can quickly put those together. And in this case, what I'm going to do then is copy here the grid loan table. Okay, and if I change that name to info underscore grid underscore objects loaned, for instance. Okay, we can change it like so. And if I open that up again, now of course we can adjust here the SQL query to only display items where, for instance, we have that ID. So here we'll remove the order by, and I just click to deploy by accident. Okay, so I'll add here the where statement, and then I can say where L.state equals, and we can then say, well, loaned, for instance. And if I run that, for instance, we have then a specific grid that only displays loaned items. And of course, we're receiving here the variable again, and we want to remove that from this one. So I'll come back here to our events, go ahead, delete that. We can leave the on record event, and then I'll just go ahead and run. And then this time we only have our loaned objects here. Okay, so we have one more grid to create before we finish up in this video, and that is then for our object history, because of course we want to see what happened previously when our objects have been returned and so forth. So again, let's jump here to our database menu option and then the SQL builder again. And then from here, this time we select some different tables. We'll choose here from the loan table, the ID, as well as the date and the state, and we can include those in our table. And then for objects, we can include the name, for instance, and the photo. Let's add those. And then here in persons, we can again add here the name and the email address. Of course, we can add more fields if we need to. Again, our aliases are included because we had previously used these same tables before. So Scriptcase again remembers this information and includes that for us. So I can confirm that, come back here to my joins. And of course, again, let's join here our objects as well as our persons tables together, and just like that we can confirm that. We again link the two together, so again our object ID goes with the ID and the person ID goes with the person ID. Again we confirm that, and just like that we again have a custom statement. Let's go ahead and copy that, come back to home, and we can create a new application. And we can go grid and we can paste that in there. But again, I've actually forgotten to order by. So let's come back to our SQL builder, come back to order by here. And this time I want to order by the name, the person name. So let's go ahead. In fact, no, the object name makes more sense, doesn't it? So here I'll choose the object name and then also the date. Okay, so there is then the loaned date. I will confirm that. And if I go ahead and run that here, again, we can see that data output for us. And again, we can just go ahead and copy that and paste that here into our new select statement. And here, this time I'll call this info underscore grid and history. And just like that, we have created some custom selects with some custom views very quickly and easily within Scriptcase. And of course, we can do that within a few clicks. So again, I will very quickly go ahead and remove here all of the options we don't want. I'll set the grid at 100%, and we can go ahead and run that application now and have a quick look what it looks like. And just like that, we have a load of information here. Of course, we may want to customize that some further again. So again, I'll come here to on record event. And let's go ahead and use the same as what we were using before. So here I'll use the status. Again, I need to confirm here the fields. So there we have L state, that is. So let me change that, L state. And just like that, we can then change the view or the color of those fields for this grid. And just like that, again, we have everything beautifully viewed. So we just need to add our photo field now. So again, I'll come here to photo and I can choose here the data type. Instead of going via the edit fields, I can do that here as well. I'll just choose the image file name as the data type. Don't forget to add then the location of those images, which again, Scriptcase remembers for us. We can again add or adjust the height and width of the image. And again, we can just go ahead and run that. And just like so, we have some completely custom views with information and history and so forth of all of our objects. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you continue within the next video where we will be adding then the menu to this platform as well as then the security system. So thank you very much for watching and I hope to catch you in the next video.